This shape, a sphere, is slightly different. If we look at this formula real quick, what's the biggest thing that you notice that's different about this formula?
A fraction.
It's a fraction. Good. What else? There's a 4. Very nice. The cubes. Look at our radius. What are we doing to our radius now? Cubing it. As opposed to squaring it for a cone and squaring it for a cylinder. So now we need to cube our radius. All right? So to find the volume of a sphere, there is no height to a sphere. We just need to know the radius. If we look at a sphere, right? Technically the radius is the height, because we could draw this radius anywhere on our sphere and it's always going to be the same measurement. Whereas shapes like a cone and a cylinder have a circular base but an actual height to them. Spheres are just three-dimensional circles. Right? So our formula, V of a sphere, I'm going to say just SPH, is equal to 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. Now, there's a lot going on there. So we're actually going to break this one down into 4 very simple steps. The first thing we want to do is cube the radius. So if I'm doing r to the power of 3, how could I expand that out? What would it look like? R times r times r. Right? Squaring the radius is just r times r 2 times. For raising r to the 3rd power and cubing it, we're multiplying it by itself 3 times. So that's step number 1. Whatever the radius is, cube it. 5 times 5 times 5. 2 times 2 times 2. Whatever it is. Then what we're going to do is we're going to multiply whatever number we get from step 1. We're going to multiply it by 4. So if my radius is 2, I cube it. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. We multiply 8 by 4 and get 32. After we multiply this number by 4, we'll end up with some new number that we're then going to divide by 3. Whatever number we get from step 3, we're going to apply the next step, step 4, which is to multiply this number by pi. So with this formula, if we break it down into these steps, it's very easy to follow, hopefully. Let's see how that's going to work out. If I'm looking at my sphere here, first thing we want to do is identify the radius. What's my radius for this sphere? 5. Boom, boom, boom. That's a half dotted line, which means that 5 feet is my radius. Right, Devin? Right. So r is equal to 5. Good morning. We're going to plug that 5 right there into our formula. Thank you. And then we'll do our steps. What's the very first thing that we want to do? Multiply by 4. That's step 2. Right? The steps are numbered.
We have to cube the radius.
Cube the radius. So we take our radius of 5. And we'll do 5 times 5 times 5. What is 5 times 5 times 5?
125.
125. Great job. Now we have 125. We're going to take that 125 and do what? Multiply it by what?
4.
By 4. That's our step 2. Multiply this number by 4. What would 125 times 4 give me?
500.
500. You guys are quick. It's awesome. 500. Time for step 3. We take this new number, 500, and what are we going to do with that 500? Divide it by what?
Pi.
By 3. Did someone say pi? Divide by 3 is step 3. That's easy to remember. Now, can we simplify 500 over 3?
Yeah.
Not evenly. We'll get a decimal answer if we do that. So just like always, we want to leave that as a fraction. And we'll do step 4, which is taking 500 over 3 and doing what? Multiply it by pi. Here's our exact answer. 500 over 3 pi. Just like with any shape, now we want to find the approximate or estimated or rough answer for this volume. So here's what I'll do. Just like before, 500 divided by 3 gives me this long repeating number. I'm going to hit times pi, and that gives me 523 point what? 60. That's right. 523.60. What are my units here? Feet cubed. Still a 3D shape. We're still cubing our units. And that's what we end up with. It's a lot larger than what we are used to seeing over the last 2 lessons. But that's what we get. Yeah, Ross? Yeah, let me pass this up first. All right, go ahead and glue in that next page so we can get some practice. Go ahead, Russ. All right, let's take a look here at our sphere letter A. What's that? A calculator? Just give me a sec. Let's get through this first. So, I've got this sphere here. First thing we want to do is figure out the radius. So what's the radius of my sphere?
12. Well, 6. But
6. Notice how this dotted line is all the way across, and it says that's 12 centimeters. So half of that dotted line would be 6 centimeters. So my radius is 6. Step 1, I'm going to do 6 times 6 times 6, which gives me 216. This is going to be very calculator heavy work. What am I going to do with 216? Times 4. Giving me 864. What do I do with 864? Divide it by 3. 864 divided by 3 gives me a nice even answer, 288. And then what do I do with 288? Multiply by what? Pi. So there's my exact answer. Not too bad. Again, if we don't get a nice even answer in step 3, we just leave it as a fraction. But in this case, we did. So now we have 288 pi. If I do 288 pi, I get 904 point what? 78. This third decimal 8 is larger than 5, so we bump this second decimal 7 up to an 8.
so it'll be 904.
0.78 centimeters cubed. And that entire step 4 is my answer. It's probably easiest to work it out this way. All right, but if that makes sense and you kind of get what we're doing with that, do it a different way if it makes sense to you. All right. Go ahead and give B and C a try. Make sure you're actually finding the radius. If you get if you're given a diameter, make sure you cut it in half first. And then we'll come together in a couple minutes and go over them. Give them a try. See if you can work them out on your own.
I've not received his contributions.
What's that?
I've not received to finalize my calculation.
Okay, so what's the radius?
Let's talk about
1, perfect. So R equals 1. What's the first step we want to do?
it's cool.
We don't really need to do that, but I mean, what's step number 1?
I proceeded to finalize my calculation.
Perfect. Yeah, what's 1 times 1 times 1? 1. All right, so now step 2. Step 2. What are we going to do with that 1? Multiply by what? So let's take a look. What does step 2 say here? Okay, so let's multiply by 4. What is 1 times 4? Perfect. So right equals 4. Okay, so now we're going to use the number 4 for our next step. And what are we going to do with that 4? Yep, by 1. Perfect. Can we simplify 4 over 3? No. So we just do step 4, which is to multiply it by
No. But that's what I know it is.
pi. Yep. So step 4,
It's a slave.
4 over 3 pi.
Okay, and you were in
So there's our exact answer. Now we just plug it into our calculator and see what that equals.
Except for the white
Yeah.
ones. You're white. You're white? Yeah, he keeps on talking about, I'm white. Okay, so you don't look white at all. You don't have even a hint of white. You look only got like 3 grams of salt. 3 grams of salt. He's got small eyes. You got like 0.1% each.
Yep. So you can do it like that, or you can do it like this. So we get 4.19, right? So you can also do 4 divided by 3. Get that, and then do times 5. And get it's the same. You can put them all in one line if you want.
64 times 4 is 256. Okay, walk your first step. Times 5. Don't forget your pi. Times 5. Put your pi in there. You have to put your pi. Don't forget your pi. You have to get your pi. Then it's 4.1 less.
Oh, it's 4.
08.
Church.
KA. X. X.
Yeah, even.
3.
Yep,
Put it.
that looks good.
Yes. Now box your answer.
Plus
Why'd you leave in the middle of this part?
So do 4 divided by 3.
Oh, you did. Miles Q. M-I. 4 times 4 is 3. Box your answer. Box your answer. What the hell is wrong?
Alrighty, let's take a look so we can get going. What's my radius in sphere B? My radius is 1. So step 1 says I'm going to do what with that 1? 1 times 1 times 1. What is that? 1. Nice and easy. Step 2 says I'm going to take this 1 and multiply it by what? 4. Which equals what? 4. Now step 3 says I'm going to take that 4 and divide it by 3. Can we simplify 4 over 3?
No.
Nope. So we'll just leave it as 4 over 3. And what do I do with 4 over 3? Multiply it by what? Pi. There's my exact answer. I plug that in the calculator and get what? 4.19. What are my units? Miles cubed. And again, this whole step is our answer. Take a moment, make sure that's what you got. If not, make sure you fix it. Morning.
It was a news, sorry.
All right, on to the last one. We got a sphere here. What's my radius? 8? 4. We've got a full dotted line, that's 8 kilometers, which means our half dotted line will be 4 kilometers. So I'll do 4 times 4 times 4. What's that? 64. I'll take my 64 and multiply it by what? 4. That gives me 256. I'll take my 256 and do what? Divide by 3. Does that go in evenly? No. So we'll leave it like that. And then we'll take our fraction, 256 over 3, and multiply it by what? By pi. Plug that in the calculator, and we get a rough estimate volume of what? What is it, Ayana?
268.08 kilometers.
Oops.
Wait, what?
268.08
.08.
kilometers cubed. I gave all my calculators away, so I'm going to have to trust you on that. If that's wrong, don't blame me. Let's double check. If I do 256 divided by 3, boom, multiply it by pi. Oh, you can't even see that. There we go. 268.08. Perfect. Great job. There is our answer / answers. An exact answer and a rough answer. What questions can I answer about that? All right. I know some questions are going to come up once we get started. So let's go ahead and do that.